it's windy. That's why it's so cold. Just cuts
Bummer.
through you. No snow though.
We got lots of snow, and AJ's
Yeah.
the only one that dressed up,
I have a
which is
t-shirt
funny
on.
because you look really funny in front of like you got like a sport jacket with a black shirt, and you're in front of like race maps.
I got the demand prints on going right here.
It was a
Oh,
little bit of a
and I'm
joke. Do
like
you want me?
staring at
I
you
could put a hoodie
sideways.
on if
Okay,
it
here we
makes it a little
go.
bit better. Yeah.
Cool.
Um,
Well, let's do
what are
some
we talking about,
introductions.
Paul?
I'm Paul. I'm your moderator, Paul Whitaker. Uh, and with me, as always, is Terry and AJ. Terry's the one with the long hair. AJ's the one with the
The pretty one.
Pretty one.
and the earbuds. I guess I'll be honest. When we first started doing this, I thought to myself, there is like nobody wants to do or watch a podcast about direct to film transfers. But the more I've been working over the last year and a half with everybody, the more I realize it's probably a good idea.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say it was true.
No. Fair enough. But I think we'll just take a format where I'll kind of like moderate. We'll talk about the things we're running into with direct to film every day. But I thought a good place to start for the first podcast would be a quick round of introductions, take a quick look at why we do this. So I can just give a quick demo of demand prints, and then I've got a couple of topics that I think would be fun to dive right into. And I'll start. Paul, I've been uh, uh, in and out of startups, Dallas, California, Silicon Valley for the last 25 years, and got roped into doing all this business with my sister Terry, who started a screen
That would
printing
be me.
shop
Yeah.
with my help 30 years ago already.
It will be 30 years ago. Yeah. Because I just started when I was, yeah, it is 30 years. I started when I was 18, 19 years old with that business. So yeah,
Do the
that
math on
dates
that.
me.
You look
That
good
dates
for,
me. Dang, dang.
yeah.
But
And AJ, I can never pronounce your last name, AJ. How? Sobrinsky?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's Sobrilski.
Sobrilski.
Read it almost like it's Russian. I think that helps people.
Hey.
Yeah.
so so Brilsky.
I
Okay.
love spelling it because people are always like, "Oh, can you spell that?" And then you hit the first three letters and it's SOB, and people are like, and then you kind of have to keep rolling with it. But yeah,
Roll
yeah.
past. No. Yeah, Terry Larson. Yeah, and screen printing business, promotional products, apparel for the last 30 years. Switched over to DTF a couple of years ago. Got a hold of my brother and decided to do it online and start teaching people as well as supplying people about DTFs, best way to do them, best way to get the best quality possible with your artwork. Uh, Yeah, so started a conversation and we're here today. So
Yeah, here we are a year and a half later, and I don't know how
yeah,
many hundreds of thousands of lines of code later. And then AJ and I met because I broke my leg, and then AJ helped me out with some physical therapy, and then started riding together, and then started working together on this project as well. Um, just so we don't bore everybody to death, why don't we jump in and do a quick demo of what it is we do? We're with Demand Prints. We started Demand Prints to help people with DTFs. I guess I can just show off a quick demo and then jump into something else. Let's see. What's the best way to do this? Can you guys see my screen, what I'm showing
Yeah,
right
you're
now?
yeah,
good. There you go.
yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
perfect. Okay. So I think Terry, what you kind of had told me is like you were doing DTFs for a while, and then in your business had grown pretty significantly.
Yes, very, very much
Um,
so. Yeah.
and then, but you were like, hey, I need a better way to do this. I've got people want to buy DTFs from me. We're doing good quality work, but we need an easier way to make this work. I thought it'd be a fun project. So we sort of built a tool that works like a tool, not I mean, there's a lot of websites where you can buy them, but we thought let's have a tool that works like a tool, feels like a tool, where the purpose really is just to help streamline the whole workflow for folks that are doing DTF. So in a nutshell, like literally just, I think I've got some easy artwork. If you've ever seen our website, you've probably seen like Space Cat. You can drag and drop or just select it. Um, just easily set your size. I'm on our dev system, so this is one where we can actually go through the whole process. You can tap and including the payment and see how it all works with a fake credit card. But let's see, we've got, let's just give this a tag of Space Cat. Based on your feedback, Terry, like that's just been a great way to add PO numbers and anything you tag it with is searchable, so you can kind of put what you want there.
Yeah. And
Leave some
multiple
design
things
notes
as well.
like, you know, colors look good. Okay, let's add that and it'll upload it. So now we have a secure version. We check out and here, let's bump this up so we get some free shipping. Boop. There we go.
And the one feature on this too that we had discussed as well is being able to change your quantity, your size in the cart, not having to go back and change it all and
Yeah.
that and do it again. So
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I guess I could just let me continue shopping and I'll just add another couple of pieces of artwork and then we can play with it just for a bit. Okay, great. I'll add just the cart. I mean, Terry, a lot of these features were here because like I had some good ideas, but then you kind of said this terrible idea, make it work like this, and that's what I did.
Hey Terry,
yep.
remind me what you were doing before you had your own printer. Where were you getting your DTFs?
I had a friend of mine at the time that lived probably about 20 miles from me that had bought a very small 12-inch, 13-inch DTF machine, had it in her garage, started doing a few things for me. And then at that point, I do quite a bit at my shop. So
Yeah.
this is easy. I like this. This is so much more convenient for me. So that's when I went and just bought my own machine.
Yeah, was there ever a time when you were going through third party sites, and
Oh
ordering
yeah.
them?
Yeah.
When you were doing that, like what were the things that were just driving you crazy about it? I think, learning about,
Yeah.
hearing about that and then tying that into why we have what we have as we
Yeah.
go through the demand print site, Paul, is I think that would help people understand about how we created that tool and why it is the way it is.
Yeah. Now, a big part of that was the gang sheeting was somewhat, you know, you had to do it, but it was somewhat annoying because then, you try to get as much as you can on a 13 by 19 sheet. So you're putting logos here, there, everywhere. Then you get them in
Yeah.
the gang sheets, and then you're having to sit and cut for 2 hours because you've got things here, there, and everywhere, and everything's, jostled and so that was never fun. Um,
like your laptop camera just jostled around.
Yeah, so you were playing Tetris and then you had to do a little bit of arts and crafts on the back end before you
yeah,
could
but
even kind of start putting your product together, huh?
oh yeah, it was a lot. It was
Yeah.
time consuming, and everybody knows in this business that we're all on time management. Everything's a quick turnaround, regardless if it is or isn't. Um, yeah. The other thing was just, you know, if you wanted to have different sizes of it, if you were getting single logos, it just not simple, not easy. Our biggest thing with this was how less clicks can we do? How convenient can we make this?
I
Just
completely forgot about that conversation, but yeah, we had like this
yeah.
whole goal of like how many clicks can we remove in the tool? And the other thing, Terry, that you kept telling me was I need to see the cost and the economics all the time. So like
Mhm.
I remember when we worked through this whole thing, we were just like, I want to be able to change sizes and volumes and see how it affects the price and make sure that it all works. So there was a lot of time spent. There was a lot of time spent trying to really make that work well, including with you, AJ, because I remember the first time you looked at it, you were like, it's annoying how you back up and type in numbers and the numbers don't like work well. Like it's almost like every little field on here we've agonized over every little piece of this interface and we continue to agonize over it. Did you guys see this new thing I added? This like bar here. I don't know if you saw that or
I
not.
did. I did because I use it daily. So,
I was just like, I thought it was kind of fun, but it's like
yeah.
if you're gonna make it, it's so where you get that progress bar and it shows you how far you are away from free shipping. But let me bump that up. Okay, now we got free shipping. I'll continue.
Yeah.
And that's over $100, right?
Yeah, over 100
Just to
bucks.
make sure
It's
people know. Yeah, yeah.
free standard shipping. And then you have to click this I agree because it just says, hey, I have the right to print this. I mean, we could check if we see something obvious, but we need to you kind of have to say like, hey, I have the right to print what I've got here. Got my real address on there. I'll have to go back and like blur that out later. I should have used the demo account. So I'm gonna get like spam mail. So you can see standard shipping is free. Pickup would be free if you were in the Iowa area in your shop. You could come by and pick it up. Sometimes we let people click that if we give them free shipping. We'll just let them know, hey, click that. We'll take your address if we talk to you on the phone. Yeah, and then continue. Now, this is going to use a fake credit card because we're on our system here. I'm going to end up having to blur some stuff out when I make this. So let me buy. And then you're done. That's kind of the whole thing, right? You just literally
Yeah.
upload your art and set your sizes and hit buy. Um, and then if you want to track your orders, you can just go to your dashboard. You'll get an email that says, hey, you paid for this, but mostly we don't want to spam a lot of email. Instead, there's kind of a dashboard you can use to track things. So in a nutshell, the whole site is as soon as you create an account and log in, you just upload your art, set your sizes, and buy. Or if you've ordered it before, and Terry, this was your kind of
Mhm.
request too, is if I've ordered it
Yeah.
before, I want to just be able to go add it to my cart right from an order and maybe change the size, change the quantity, and go through the whole purchase process all over again. So
That's
that's
good.
I guess kind of simple.
Yeah, and that's the reason the tagging of the design is helpful. It also keeps track of what the actual file name was of the design that you downloaded, and you can, search
Yeah.
it by that as well, even though you didn't tag it with that name.
Yeah.
Um, so that it's highly convenient because there is, I mean, at least 4 or 5 times a week, I'm redoing, getting more of the same logo I did, and it's just one less step, one less click, one less thing to do to try to get my order in a quick, timely manner and go about my work. So
Yeah. And like full disclosure, like
yeah,
we of course have demand prints, but the point of this whole podcast is not just about like, hey, we have a service. Like obviously we have a service.
yeah,
We love having customers come to the service, but like the Terry, you've been doing this for 30 years. AJ and I just started, and it's almost like a superpower for us to kind of go through the whole process and see like where some of the troubles, where some of the problems are. And for me, like I thought the purpose of this podcast is just to help people who are trying to integrate DTFs into their business, into their workflow. That there's some core skills, there's things to be aware of. Technology's changing a lot around this, and just talking about everything from color matching to t-shirts to heat presses and temperatures and things like that. I feel like I'm learning something new every day, and um,
Yeah,
as much as I thought I'd never start a podcast about
yeah,
DTFs, I'm like mountain biking or snowboarding would be more likely. I mean, here we are.
oh crap. Sorry, I
yeah.
gotta take this into the
No,
other room.
it's been interesting, Paul, too, to that note of like, how you and I are relatively fresh. I mean, obviously we kind of have learned along the way, but I think our freshness is good in a lot of ways. For one, like we come at this with a different eye, right? When you and I are sitting down and troubleshooting stuff, like we kind of don't think about it with preconceived notions of what the industry's been doing or what happens. So I think that allows us to, strategically solve problems in a different way, which, and not think about how things have traditionally been done. And that's why we could create something different and not just follow the trend of everybody else in the in the business. But, as I've been talking to shops and people who do this and talk to Terry, it's I yeah, when I first thought of it, I was like, well, this is easy, right? Like you print it, you heat press it, da 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 da. But I think as the further and further we get into this, and the people I talk to and the things I read, like doing DTFs well is a very skillful um, thing to learn and develop. And it's clear when you see Terry, do all the calibrating, do all the clean, like how she does things with artwork, how she runs the printing, how she double checks things. And so I think that's been a really unique part of it too, because I think people are just, buying printers and just trying to print, and then they run into the quality matching, they run into issues with their materials and their inks and this and that. But but yeah, it's been unique to learn that kind of artistic side of it. How to put, I think you said it one time in terms of the tech world, it's like garbage in, garbage out, kind of thing. Like, so if you're not putting the right things in place, you don't get good things out of it. To me, that's been the biggest learning curve of this is what Terry has learned and what people who are using DTFs effectively and how that impacts what they're doing on a day-to-day basis for sure.
I think where that meets the road is like the people who buy DTFs and put DTFs on a shirt, I think that the litmus test for the quality and the success is what their customers ultimately say, like their expectations. So you know, it's like if you're making YouTube videos, you can almost like certain things you can forget. You can forgive a little bit of like grainy video quality, but the one thing you can't forgive is good audio. You've got to be able to hear it. And in the DTFs, it seems like it's the one thing you can't forgive is just like if you get is just the customer feeling like they didn't get a good quality result. And there seems to be three components to that. Like I keep looking at the nerdy side of like color management, color correction. There's AJ, what you're seeing from the customer side, like what kind of image are they uploading to begin with, right? And there's a lot to that. There's core skills that they maybe haven't had to develop doing regular screen printing or embroidery work versus integrating DTFs. And then Terry, I know from your side, the whole sort of literally like the tech behind running the industrial grade DTF machines that can output the quality. The three legs of those kind of stools seem to be like if one is there without the other, customers not going to be happy with the final quality. At least when color matching and certain things really count. I mean, yeah, for the most part, we see a lot of customers like build something in Canva, send us a file, they're happy with it. But then when you need to really pay attention to color grading, color matching, quality output for larger clients, especially brands, it becomes a little bit more technical, a little bit more nerdy there. Way more than we can talk about on a single podcast, but like could break down
Yeah.
over time. And speaking of Terry, I guess we've got some news about some exciting things happening at the shop next week.
Yeah, yeah. New equipment, fluorescent capabilities. I'm geeking out and excited about getting all that set up, everything running, larger format printing as well, quicker turnaround time. Um, we finally now are at the point where everything is here, everything's getting set up, and we are going to be able to get out DTFs even higher quality, um, make sure our color calibrations are amazing, um, and just be able to get everything out to the customer that we can. But just even the new machine, learning it, um, knowing how much work and maintenance and effort goes into that, but it's exciting. Um, yeah, so I don't.
That machine is so big.
Mhm.
It was
It
like
is.
when I saw
It
that uh new machine, I was like, oh my God, the thing is
Oh, it's a
that thing
monster.
it's a
Yeah.
monster.
Yeah.
It's just so cool. So our volume capacity is so much higher now. It was
Yeah.
already good, but like yeah, now
But
it's
now
gonna
it's
be
just,
it's
yeah.
gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot higher. Um, I had one thing I wanted to talk about in today's podcast around some recent things that we've been learning about, but anything on your mind, AJ, before I dive into from the last week or two? I guess we're going to the show in Long Beach in a
Yep.
couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll be there. We'll probably be the only two in sport coats, I imagine. Maybe. I don't
I
know.
got mine right here. I'm gonna wear it.
No, I hear
I got
you.
a black t-shirt and I'm gonna put my Ted Baker
All
sports
right.
shirt over.
Yeah, yeah.
Do
Business
you guys like
casual.
my fun? This is my mountain biking shirt. I wear this at Big Sky.
Nice. No, I think we're on a good roll. I think, just from where I sit in the last, I'm just gonna say, 5, 6 months of really diving into trying to spread some awareness to this. And what I see from, my vision, my eyes, kind of the interface between um, people using the product and the response to using the product and service. And again, Paul, I know you and I have talked about this a bunch. I think we're multifaceted in the sense that we have a really unique tool that the way we designed it, like drag and drop, simple and easy, change the numbers, quantity, add to cart. Again, and the ability to manipulate those things in there makes it simple and effective. And that homepage is clear. If you go to some other, competitors' homepages, is like there's a lot going on. And I think that when you come to that homepage, it's very specific to what the goal is when you're there, help you get your stuff done. Um, but it's been really cool to see the response and the positivity around some of the other features. Again, like the no gang sheeting, people are psyched that we're saving them time there. The fact that prints come cut and ready to press. So again, people are opening the package right next to the heat press and going right away. So they're psyched on either they're not having to cut these out or they're not having to pay somebody to cut them out, and that kind of again kind of helps that turnover time. And then Paul, kudos to you, but we're the only ones who have figured out how to, the way I describe it to people is draw a lasso around the
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
print, the print or the artwork, excuse me.
Artwork.
And again, it's, the way I like to describe it, just because it's going to be tricky if people are listening to this and not can't see it on the screen, but
Yeah, I
you
just
know,
popped
if
it up.
you,
I just popped it
yeah,
up on the screen
but
where
if
like I've
if
I've
you
got
were to plug
some.
in a if you were to plug in a triangle that's 2 inches high and 2 inches wide, everybody else is going to charge you 4 square inches. But you didn't
Yeah,
use
we
4 square inches worth of ink. You literally used, again, excuse my math, but let's just call it 2/3. And we're the only ones who figured out how to kind of actually go around that triangle and the border so that we can, cut and help you save costs there. So if you're actually paying for what you print. And so, that in combination with, I think people have been really excited too about our customer service. If they need something fast, they call me or call us and we're on it. If they want something changed on the website, that's, we are working and updating and improving that as we go. So I think that whole, the and multifaceted nature to that of the tool, but then also the quality of the print. So again, I think it's the service on the front end and then it's the product on the back end that really makes us unique.
Yeah. And
yeah,
being
that's a
able to
good
get it
point. I
out in
mean,
getting it out in a timely manner too, especially with the new equipment that we have got in too, and just even being able to get it out the door faster. Like I
Yeah,
said,
well, I mean,
both the time thing.
if anything, the feedback we've ever gotten is like things have gotten there faster than people expected. Nothing's ever
Yeah.
gotten there late, right? Like everybody's like, "Whoa, it's already here. Thanks." Like,
Yeah.
sending
Yeah.
us pictures and tests. These look great, like awesome, like or on the one-offs where we're willing to work with people. It's like, hey, I get the text and it's like, any chance we can put this in and have it here by tomorrow? And it's yes, we'll get it done. So, um, that's been I think helpful as well.
I almost feel like you just blasted over one of the most difficult things that I had to engineer, which was that print area pricing. Like, I can't remember why I thought of that one day, but you're right. It's a really
Well,
interesting point. And Terry, you alluded to it with the gang sheeting, but
yeah. And that's a big thing. That's why people gang sheet. That's why they try to fit a logo in every single area and spot on that 13 by 19 sheet because you're paying for it. So why
yeah,
are you getting a print? Even if you didn't need the prints, let's get some extra ones. Let's get something we can just put on a shirt and sell on our front end of our store,
yeah,
and see and
just so
hear.
people get
Yeah.
what we're talking about. Like we kind of were like printing a bunch of stuff and realized one day, like, man, we're printing a triangle or we're printing a circle, but you're charging for a square or a rectangle. And then that was kind of leading people to gang sheet, which made it actually a little harder for us to even like both print correctly and cut when we send them pre-cut. And so what I think what we did is, and you can see an example of this is uh, just to put a finer point on it, like you can see here where if you put this logo on, it's X times Y, and that's how much you pay for. And then here you can see this kind of green area behind. If you take the same image on demand prints, yeah, we kind of create this lasso around it, a contour around it, and then that's what we base the square inches on. And if you go to demand prints and click on, pricing or right from the homepage, you can click on, scroll down and
Yeah,
click
and
on print area pricing. You can literally play with this. You can say, what if it was, you know, 4 inches wide and I got 1,000 of these, like what's the difference? And so this is actually an interactive tool that you can play with. And you can see real world pricing here from different sites versus, our volume based pricing, and then the number of square inches with print area versus that. So you can kind of play with the tool and see how it works and how much you can save. It's this weird, complicated thing to explain, but like if you summarize it, it's sort of like you get the benefits of gang sheeting without having to gang sheet, and ultimately it saves you money, even if you might be like a little bit higher price per square inch. Like you can see here, you're still actually saving money because we're not charging you for X times Y.
Yeah. And this,
yeah, I
oh, go ahead. Sorry, AJ.
no, we're probably gonna say the same thing, but like you even said there, Paul, like at the same image at a cheaper square inch unit price, we're with the competitor being cheaper, we're still cheaper on the whole. And so again, some people have, when I talk to them on the phone or I have calls, I show them the service. A handful of people have kind of looked at me and gone like, it seems too good to be true. Like, what's the catch kind of thing? And I remember like the first time somebody looked at me and said that, and I was like,
Maybe we should charge more.
in my head, I was like, I don't know. Like, you're right. Like, but in the reality, it's when you stack it up against other services and other products, you uh, you have to be pretty committed to and loyal to these other places you get them to continue with them again. And if we're looking at like business economics and unit economics, like again, like we're threefold at three different points throughout the process. We save you time and money. The gang sheeting, print area pricing, the pre-cut stuff. Again, it's higher quality. It's high consistent quality.
I mean, Terry, this comes down to me. Like when we started talking about this like a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
it was like we didn't want to just create yet another DTF printers, go buy a printer and then just print some stuff, put something up on a Shopify website and sell it. And that's what like 99% of everybody does. If you look at it, you see like I bought a printer, I made a Shopify website where I could charge people for it, and then I create an image upload plugin, or I used an image upload plugin to do it. We made something way more complicated than that, where we took on a lot of the complication of it in order to make it easy for everybody else. Because as you said, Terry, it's got to be fast, it's got to be efficient, it's got to work. And if you're going to do that, you can't build that with Lego blocks. Like as the nerd in the group, I mean, every single line of code on this website's been written from scratch with like speed and performance and ease in mind. So we've got a lot to do, and a lot of things that we haven't, launched or announced yet. But it's just kind of like one of our first principles is, make this easy to use, make this a real tool, not just an e-commerce website. I could nerd out on that all day long, but I'm not gonna, because you guys have all heard it and nobody wants to listen to that. It's more like save time, save money, and we make that work.
Save
Maybe
time,
we
save
should,
money, work less, and
yeah.
go enjoy yourself. So, it's
Go
the
out on the
truth.
farm
It's
with
the
your
truth. You
chickens,
work. I mean,
and
you
AJ
work
and I'll go
what
ride our bikes.
you go ride your bikes. I'll go play with my dog and the chickens, and
Yeah, Terry lives on a farm. I live in Montana next to Bridger Bowl, and AJ lives in Montana. And
Yeah.
as well. So, um, the big topic I wanted to hit today, and we've had a lot of big topics, and we're going to come back to this over and over and over again. I think is here's the biggest learning I've taken away from getting involved in DTFs. Um, there are a core set of skills you need to really integrate DTFs into your business. Um, most of the people I've seen that have been customers that have been doing screen printing for a long time, I think even lack some of those skills. I mean, Terry, I've seen even your 30 years of experience, some of the knowledge about, digital design and going from digital design to print design in the world of DTF, there's just some fundamental things that you need to understand in order to kind of do that effectively, at least at a professional level. Um, and to a certain degree, you can do simple things and get away with just a basic set of skills and tools like Canva, and I can have, ChatGPT and AI make me a cool image, press it on something, and it's going to be fine. And 90% of the time that's probably okay. But if you're aspiring to really reach a level where you could pick up, I don't know, like, get licensed by the NCAA, make things for local college teams or basketball teams, those types of things. There is a level of skill and knowledge that you need to learn and that you need to bring into play in partnership with whoever, whether you're printing the DTFs or you're working with somebody to print the DTFs. And so we'll be aiming to talk about a lot of those things. On the website, we'll be publishing some things on the website to help with that as well. That's a really long lead up to what I wanted to just bring up as a topic.
Was there a question in there?
No, that was
Yeah,
just
okay.
like
Just curious.
it's the thing is I can't tell you how many people
Paul,
I've
yeah.
talked to that you've said, "Oh, go talk to Paul," or whatever, that have said like, "Why isn't my color coming out the way it is?" And even though we
Yeah.
redid it and sent it out to them, I was a little bit shocked that some of this knowledge they didn't get, and specifically like colors. But let me just narrow this down. If you want high quality colors, there's a lot you could talk about. We've written a lot about it on the website, but here's what I would say. Let's have a conversation about web-based design tools versus native design tools, web-based tools like Canva versus tools like Adobe Illustrator. Terry,
Yes.
you have a lot of people that are building with
Right.
Canva and web-based
They do.
tools.
Yeah, and a lot of it, I mean, they're the kids at an early age now are using that just even in high school. I have high schools that send me Canva artwork all the time and say, "Hey, I want to do this," and blah blah blah. And then I have to email them back and say, "Okay, well, this is how you send it to me, but what colors are you really wanting in this?" I mean, it really is a factor of it, I'd say on my end, I did manual screen printing, ink screen printing, which then you mix your colors. You have your colors right there, so you know what you're doing. When you're switching over to digital, you have a huge range of colors you can use, but learning the curve of how it looks on your screen versus what it's actually going to print out like, what formats you need to have that in to make it print out correctly and the colors that you do want. There's a lot of people that don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it seems like your customers that are using Canva for just like regular jobs have been pretty happy. Um, the reality is that you're starting off when you're building with something like Canva, you're building in what's called RGB format. I mean, AJ, do you know what RGB format is?
Red, green, and blue.
Only because I've been talking about it nonstop for like 2
I
weeks.
usually I was gonna try to come up with something funny to make stand for RGB, but I was too late on the trigger there. My fault.
We'll work on that. Something will pop in.
Really good baloney. I don't know.
Don't talk about food. I can't eat anything until tomorrow at noon. I'm like on a liquid diet until tomorrow
That
at
sounds
noon.
amazing. Yeah.
It's
The
not
wrestling diet.
it's not good. Yeah, our RGB is anytime you're working anytime you're working in a format where the colors you see are being created by something that emits light, like a computer monitor. Um, it uses the RGB color space. It literally mixes red, green, and blue like LEDs, and that's what emits the color. And so there's values for those that are literally numbers, like a red value of 0 to 255, green and blue value. And however those get mixed is what you actually see on the screen. But the standard for physical printing is CMYK.
Yeah.
And when you try to translate between RGB and CMYK, especially for certain troublesome colors, there's a variation that is perceivable by the human eye. And Terry, I think you mentioned, I know navy blue is a really tough color.
Yeah. Blues, reds, bright greens. I mean, it can roll over into about any color. Yellows, if you're trying to get a bright yellow compared to a gold yellow. But that's where you run into your teams that have certain colors you want to use. And to be able to, let's say you're creating something in Illustrator and you don't have it and you have it in an RGB file instead of a CMYK, you can tell when you switch back and forth on the screen, you can see the differences in there as well. But to get it to send it through, let's say demand prints, you really, if it is a specific color that you're wanting to use and have, you need to kind of know what format to put that in as to make sure you're getting the output that you want.
Yes. So, as I've worked with some customers, and I think you have too, Paul, about kind of creating this color match from the RGB to CMYK, especially again coming from like a web-based thing, and then Terry, where you're getting it potentially, and then needing to change it in Adobe.
Mhm.
What is the conversation you've had with those people who haven't quite that might understand it at a big level, but don't know how to execute that transition from RGB to CMYK? What has been your message to them to improve the quality of that color matching when they're switching between those?
Well, and a lot of it is just create it in a CMYK based file instead of creating it in RGB. Like if you're in Illustrator, you can switch back and forth, being able to punch those numbers in for your CMYK codes. I mean, a lot of it is really simple. If you're using certain programs, it's just the knowledge of knowing, hey, this is how I need to do it. This is where I need to
Yeah.
start it from.
And I think that's been one of the bigger things we've seen when specifically because you quality check a lot of it and you kind of
Mhm.
look at the colors as they're coming in and going like, are we sure this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
the specific color? And then, I'll have that conversation. But I think one of the,
And guys, I'm
let's just
sharing this
say,
actually right now.
yeah,
Like when you look at a color,
Yeah.
um,
Well, even with
and
black. Yeah.
or let's just like start off with a brand new file. If you create a brand new file, I think in Illustrator, can you see this, guys, like where I'm creating a new file, or is that invisible?
No, I
I
can
can
see
see
it.
it.
Yeah, so you can see there's a literally color mode here. So you can be in RGB or you can be in CMYK. And if you're in CMYK and you start there, and then you were to say like, I'll just add a box to the screen, and then you put a fill on that box of like this blue. On this blue, you can actually inspect that color. I'm trying to remember where that button is, Terry, where you can actually see the color, but you can enter the color values if somebody gave you a specific CMYK.
Yeah, you need to go. You've got it in a different format than what I'm used to using. Um,
Yeah, there's an inspector. We'll
yeah,
do a
there's three
tutorial on
little
it
lines up
later.
there, isn't there, on the top of that thing? Yeah.
Where's it at?
When you had that clicked on it, you're using like a different version.
Yeah,
You're on Mac too.
I'm on a
Uh,
Mac because
mhm.
I'm good. You obviously.
There's three
One,
little lines up at the top of that on the right side.
oh yeah.
Is that what it is? And then you can, no, like on the
Da-da-da-da-da.
box that you're in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's here. So,
Uh, it would be called,
oh
yeah.
look, there it is right there. Ha, see. Okay, so there's your
There you
CMYK
go.
color values you're
Yeah.
talking about right
Yeah.
here, where you can get those numbers and then change those. And a brand like Red Bull or the Montana State Bobcats, whatever, like they'll know what those colors are, or they'll give you a Pantone color, and you can actually use the tools to match Pantone colors to this. But anyways, this is the CMYK version you're talking about. And
Yeah.
also just to clarify, like if you're using Canva, Canva does say if you have a pro account that you can work in the CMYK color space, but the reality is you're still working in RGB color space because web browsers can only support RGB. And then when you save it, you can save it as a PDF file in CMYK format, but you don't know, and they don't publish how they transform that RGB color into CMYK color. And that's why even though they say it's a CMYK capable web-based editor, it's not really good enough for like super important color matching. And so my point is like if you get into that like, 5% of client area where it really matters and where color matching really matters, web-based tools like Canva are just not going to cut it. You've got to have a tool like Adobe Illustrator or something I would call like a native editing tool that supports that
World
CMYK
draw. Yeah.
color space. And then it doesn't matter if whether you're buying it from DemandPrints or anybody else, right? It's, as you said, AJ, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah. And 75 to 90% of the time, you can create what you're creating, see it visually on your screen, and send it in, get it printed, get it back to you. And you think it looks amazing and it's great, but that's only if you don't need specific colors. I mean, it doesn't have to be too difficult, but we want to
Well, I
make sure
think,
people want exact. They
yeah,
don't.
I mean, the
Yeah.
reality of it is like Paul, like you said, and Terry kind of alluded to, is like, and in my experience too, working with customers, is that we're we're pretty damn consistent and pretty dang uh, precise on the color matching side of it to the best, like again, within that very, whatever delta E we want to play around with, that really nobody really complains about the color matching unless they are expecting a true like Pantone color reproduction, especially in some of those brighter colors, the neons, that side of thing when they kind of look at it on their screen and maybe it came over, in the RGB and they're expecting us just to, absolutely know what that Pantone color is and then they set those two things next to each other. Would you, one workaround that, we've worked a couple times with that, but is if let's just say you're stuck and you don't have AI and somebody sent you a complex graphic that is just in the RGB form, would you say, that the company or business working with that person, having a conversation and, maybe saying, hey, are these the like going through like a Pantone color book and be like, are these the true colors you want? Just so because when we shift this over to, CMYK environment, they might shift a little bit, but if we can send them the Pantone codes, we can be more specific with how they'll match it on our side. So for instance, like in our notes area, if they are like if they have a specific blue, a navy blue, and they have the true Pantone code, they could very easily put that Pantone code in there and we can if they aren't working in a CMYK environment, correct?
Well, just to be, if you're matching a Pantone color, you need to get the CMYK value of that Pantone color. So if you
Right.
got like a Pantone book and you're going to need to look at it, and Terry, the Pantone book actually shows you here's like Pantone whatever, and then it has the CMYK value that you would need.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to match a very specific color, and here's a case in point, is a soccer shirt, somebody hand mixed a blue, they needed to
Yeah.
like take their Pantone color book and go like hold it up next to it and match it and go like, okay, this is the blue. Here's the CMYK value of that. And then they corrected that in their Illustrator file, sent it over, and then we got the blue right.
Yeah.
But prior to that, they thought they had the right blue,
Yeah.
but what it turned out to be was whoever hand mixed the color did it wrong. And so they had to grab a Pantone book, look at it, figure out what the color was, and then put that in correctly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, yeah, kind of what happened was they had a screen, it was screen printed a certain color. that color was supposed to be. And of course, when you're hand mixing, you can have variations in it too. But then they were trying to match that for a smaller sweatshirt, get a DTF for that, gave us that Pantone color number, and it was nowhere near. It was a blue, so and then it turned out to be kind of purplish for the color that they wanted. And so we had to actually go back in and match that up to the correct Pantone color, then print it out, showed it to them, matched it up, and they used it. So yeah, it was a little bit of a process, but it was definitely a learning process for them, because then the next time they sent something in to me, it was perfect. And they knew exactly how to send it to me, what color codes to put in there, how to send it to me, and went from there. So I mean, it's once you know how to do it, it seems really easy.
So, complex topic. I think we're going to talk about this topic a lot.
Yeah.
Ad nauseum. Maybe because this is the first podcast and I'll edit this down and get it live and nobody's going to watch this, and then we'll need to be like 5, 10, or 15 podcasts in before we ever actually get somebody to go back and see it. We'll publish this on the site and some topics on that. But we've been going for, I don't know, about 45 minutes now, I think. I don't even know.
Yeah.
How long have we been going, guys?
4:34.
About 45. Yeah, a little over.
A little over 45 minutes. I think.
Or I guess I'm Iowa time, so 4. Yeah, you're 3:45.
So does that mean technically this podcast was 2 hours long?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we call it here for the day. Podcast number 1 is in the books. We'll do some more of these. AJ, I would
Hopefully
say
get
that
better at it, me at least. No.
this has got to be good because like if it's going to be just fine, AJ. I keep thinking this whole time about like that podcast you made me listen to about tires on mountain bikes. Like it's all these guys talk about is tires. He's like, yeah, this is great. All they talk about is tires. I was like, this is the dumbest podcast I've ever heard. Now I love it.
Well, they still probably get more listens than we do.
Well,
For
definitely.
now.
Hey, we can't forget to say to like smash the subscribe button and like give us a 5-star review somewhere in there. So I just took care
smash
of
that like and subscribe. Well, we'll put this on YouTube and probably put this on Spotify as well, and we'll link to it from the website. And if anyone wants to send us an email through our help desk with some ideas for some names, let us
For the
know.
podcast?
Yeah,
The
for the
podcast
podcast.
names?
Yeah. We should call
I think we should open our second episode with potential podcast names.
We could do that. Yeah.
That'll be the intro segment.
I'll write that down right now.
Is that
All right.
is that your new pen?
No, this is a Bic pen. And what Terry's referring to is I like fountain pens, and I have spent way too much money on fountain pens. And we'll save that for another episode. All right, guys, I'm going to stop it here. Thanks, everybody. And we will see you next time on whatever we decide to call podcast. Episode 1 is in the books.
This is the pilot.
Yes.